You ship a quick automation for missed calls. It works on day one. A webhook comes in, you summarize the voicemail, you classify it with an assistant, you route it, you update the CRM, and you send a follow-up. Then, day 30 hits. A webhook arrives twice. The model times out. The CRM rate limits you. Someone tweaks a field name in the summary. Nothing fully breaks. It just starts doing the wrong thing quietly. Duplicate leads. Missed follow-ups. A sales rep gets paged for spam. Support never sees a real issue. At that point, the question stops being which tool is fastest. The question is, which tool keeps behaving when the workflow gets messy? I'm going to walk one workflow and missed call to voice summary. Summary to AI classification. Classification to routing and retries. Then CRM update and follow-up. As we go, pay attention to the moments where you need the system to be deterministic. Not clever, deterministic. I've used the Zapier, Make, and n8n in production contexts. There isn't a universal winner. There is a right automation layer for the failure costs and the complexity you actually have. Here's what I look at when I'm choosing. Data control matters when you can't push customer data through a third-party executor, or you need access to internal services on a private network. If the workflow has to run inside your boundary, that narrows the field quickly. Failure behavior matters more than people admit. Timeouts, retries, duplicate events, partial writes. If you can't describe what happens under these conditions, you don't have an automation. You have a demo. Logic shape matters. A mostly straight line is one thing. Multipath routing with fallbacks and loops is another. AI steps tend to create loops because you're constantly repairing missing fields, revalidating, or escalating. Extensibility matters when you need real glue code. Signature verification, schema validation, normalization, custom routing rules. The more you need those, the more you want an environment that treats code as a normal part of the workflow. Reuse matters when you notice you're rebuilding the same blocks. Normalize lead, dedupe contact, validate payload, send follow-up. If you can't centralize those, you'll drift, and drift becomes incidents. Team workflow matters when automations become software. You need change review, you need environments, you need rollbacks. If the only way to ship is editing a live flow, you're one bad afternoon away from downtime. And unit economics matter once you add AI. Steps multiply. Retries multiply. Branches multiply. Volume doubles and your cost curve surprises you. With that in mind, let's run the missed call pipeline. A missed call event comes in. In the real world, you will get duplicates. Providers retry webhooks. Your own endpoint might respond slowly. Someone might replay events during debugging. So you need Idempotency. You need a stable event key. You need a place to record already processed. And you need downstream writes to be safe if they happen twice. If your tool makes it hard to store and check state, you'll end up deduping in the CRM by accident. That's a bad place to do it. It's slow, it's rate limited, and it's not designed to be your event ledger. Now, you generate a voice assistant summary. This is where format drift starts. Timestamps come in different shapes. Phone numbers have different country codes. The summary sometimes includes the caller's name, sometimes not. Sometimes the assistant invents structure that looks right but isn't. Before you classify anything, normalize. Parse the timestamp into one canonical format. Normalize the phone number. Create explicit fields for what you care about. Keep the raw transcript and raw summary, but don't route on them. If you can't do small, precise transforms easily, you'll push messy text into the next step and hope the model fixes it. That works until it doesn't. Then you're debugging prompts instead of fixing inputs. Now you call OpenAI assistants for classification, intent, category, priority. This is where you need guardrails. You want a strict output shape. You want to validate it. You want a clear unknown path. You want confidence thresholds that actually change behavior. And you need to decide what a failure means. If the model times out, do you retry immediately? Do you back off? Do you switch to a cheaper model? Do you put it into a review queue? Do you proceed with a conservative default? Those are operational decisions. They depend on failure cost. And if you're routing a sales lead, delay might be fine. If you're routing a safety issue, a delay is not fine. If you're paging someone, a false positive is expensive. If you're creating a ticket, a false negative is expensive. This is also where linear stops being true. Because now you have branches. Sales lead. Create or update a contact. Create an opportunity. Assign an owner. Send a tailored follow-up. Support requests. Create a ticket. Attach the transcript. Set severity based on priority. Notify the right queue. Spam. Log it. Do not page anyone. Do not create a lead. Do not send a follow-up. High priority. Page someone, but only once. And only if you're sure you haven't already paged it for this event. And then you get the loop that shows up in almost every AI workflow. Required fields are missing. The model returns sales, but no product line. Or it returns a priority, but no reason. Or it returns a name that doesn't match the transcript. So you run a repair pass, you extract missing fields, you revalidate. You either accept or you escalate to a human queue. At this point, the tool choice becomes obvious in practice. If your automation layer fights you on branching on loops, on storing state, and on controlled retries, you'll simplify the workflow to fit the tool. That's when silent failure starts. Because the real world doesn't simplify with you. Now, you write to the CRM and trigger follow-ups. This is where you need safe writes. Upsert, not create. Deterministic keys. A clear notion of this record is in this state. You also need to handle rate limits without creating duplicates or skipping steps. If the CRM rejects a write, you need to know whether it was applied or not. You need to avoid sending a follow-up when the CRM update didn't happen. You need to avoid updating the CRM twice and triggering 2 sequences. And you need to watch the cost curve. Every retry is another run. Every branch is more operations. Every AI call is a multiplier. If you're paying per task, the same workflow that felt cheap at 10 runs a day feels different at 1,000. Especially when you add back-off retries and repair loops, which you will if you care about correctness. So where do Zapier and Make fit? They're strong when you want to ship a mostly linear flow quickly. Triggers are easy. Connectors are plentiful. A happy path is fast to build. They start to pinch when you need deterministic failure handling, stateful dedupe, complex branching, iterative repair loops, and reusable components that you can update once. They also pinch when you need to treat the workflow like deployable software with review and promotion between environments. And n8n changes the field when you need deeper control. When you need code as a normal tool, not an escape hatch. When you need sub workflows you can reuse. When you need to run inside your own network. When you need to decide exactly how retries behave, how errors are routed, and how state is stored. Now, if you map that back to the miscall pipeline, the answer is pretty calm. If this is lightweight, few branches, low failure costs, you can tolerate that occasional duplicates or missed follow-up, you're optimizing for speed of setup, Zapier or Make is usually fine. If this workflow has real failure costs, if it can't fail silently, if it has multiple AI steps, routing, retries, dedupe, sync writes, and it's going to evolve, you want the automation layer to behave like a production system. That's where n8n is typically the better fit. Here's a quick way to sanity check any workflow without overthinking it. If your flow is mostly a straight line, and a failed run is annoying but not costly, and you don't need custom validation or idempotency, and you're fine with SaaS-hosted execution, pick Zapier or Make. If you need tighter data control or internal network access, or you need robust retries and safe writes, or your logic has real branching and fallbacks, or you need code-level transforms and validation, or you care about reuse and team-grade change control, pick n8n. If your workflow looks like the miscalled example with AI in the middle and real operational consequences at the end, default to n8n unless you have a strong reason not to. If you want, leave a comment with what you're automating, rough runs per day, and what you're using now, and I'll tell you which way I'd lean based on the failure modes you're likely to hit.